I'm Cece Woods, investigative reporter at thecurrentreport.com. I have my co-host Prime here, and we are joined by former Sheriff Alex Villanueva, who is running for re-election. Well, I don't know if it's re-election technically. I guess you're just running again, right?
Yes.
So that's the 2026 election, and go to his website, alexvillanueva2026.com to support. And we're going to get right into it. A couple of days ago, Rob Bonta released a social media video where he was basically directing local law enforcement, encouraging them to pursue investigations against federal authorities, federal agents, including the President of the United States.
Local and state law enforcement agencies have the authority to investigate and prosecute, if appropriate, crime that occurs in California, even if that crime is committed by a federal official. The President of the United States of America, if he breaks the law, trambles over the Constitution, and hurts Californians, I'm going to sue him. And that's my message yet again today. Follow the damn law.
I think Mr. Bonta must have developed amnesia recently. Back in 2010 and 11, the Sheriff's Department got in huge hot water by trying to run roughshod over FBI agents who were investigating a use of force case in the county jails. And that ended up being a seminal moment for this history of the Sheriff's Department. Mm-hmm. Baca got convicted of obstruction of justice. Under Sheriff Paul Tanaka got convicted along with 20 of their sycophants. And it all was predictable, thus preventable, because they claimed that they had the authority over the federal agents. So Bonta, in an astonishing, brazen act of, legal ignorance, claims that now we're going to investigate the feds. And the cow doesn't eat the cabbage that way. It's the other direction. And there is no point to do that. And the sad thing is he's saying this all under the umbrella of, well, we have to hold people accountable. Yet, when it was his turn to do his job and hold local politicians accountable, as in the Sheila Kuehl Peace Over Violence corruption case, he said, there's nothing to see here, folks, just move along, as he hid all the evidence and claimed it was insufficient. So that's a lot of chutzpah coming out of Bonta. But then what else can we expect?
I saw the video on your article, and I got to say, he's talking a talk for sure, and it's something that my biggest thing with this is that people that are not so much savvy when it comes to certain situations like this listen to stuff like this, and they just fuel the fire. And just like what we saw in Minnesota, look at all that violence that's happening in Minnesota. The same concept that's happening over there. My biggest fear is that kind of violence is going to come down here to Los Angeles County.
Well, it's already been here. Last summer was a prime example of that.
Tonight, more violence erupting on the streets of Los Angeles. Protests ballooning over a big portion of downtown L.A. and onto the 101 freeway, shutting it down. Hundreds of National Guard troops now on the streets to deal with the clashes along with members of the LAPD and the California Highway Patrol. This video shows a protester throwing rocks at federal vehicles leaving the area. Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino asking the public for help in identifying the person. Mayor Karen Bass speaking out.
I was hoping to prevent this situation from happening. I was trying to encourage the administration that if they deployed the National Guard in Los Angeles, it would create a sense of chaos. It's the last thing our city needs.
A convoy of heavily armed troops establishing staging areas at downtown federal buildings. President Trump calling up 2,000 members of the Guard, looking to end clashes that broke out this weekend between law enforcement and demonstrators. The tensions boiling over after immigration authorities conducted a series of sweeps arresting over 100 immigrants in L.A. over the past week.
The Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to create these ICE-free zones, which are completely illegal. They're already putting deputies and local law enforcement in a really bad position. Any officer, young or old, on the force is not going to interfere with the federal investigation or federal agents and their duties. So that already sent a very confusing message that the Board of Supervisors expects their local law enforcement to enforce this. And Horvath went on Fox 11 to say that that is exactly what they expect.
Federal government act lawlessly in our communities, and we have to take a stand.
And if they don't, would ICE be arrested essentially by county sheriff's department? How would that work? I think that's what we're asking. Is
so what we're saying is that county officials, including law enforcement, will have certain responsibilities as it relates to keeping ICE out of these facilities. Mm-hmm. Yes.
We did reach out to ICE this morning, so we wanted to read their statement here and get your reaction to this. They said this is illegally illiterate. Enforcing federal immigration laws is a clear federal responsibility under Article 1, Article 2, and the Supremacy Clause, while Los Angeles sanctuary politicians continue to release pedophiles, rapists, gang members, and murderers onto the city streets. Our brave law enforcement will continue to risk their lives to arrest these heinous criminals and make Los Angeles safe again. How does this serve the people of Los Angeles, the biggest losers these politicians were elected to serve?
Luna never said a word. And, Alex, we have touched upon this in our last episode, but I want to get into this, especially now with Bonta and the statement that he just made.
Well, it's kind of hard to hear Bunk or Bob say anything when he's curled in the fetal position, sucking his thumb under his desk. It really is. Sheriff, you got to step up to the plate and say, hey, this is what I stand for. Even right or wrong, stand for something. And he just, hey, you know what? Put his finger in the wind and stay quiet, hoping that it blows past him. But the deputies are the ones that are left, trying to deal with this conflict that the board created, which is, yes, like you said, it's entirely illegal, unlawful, unwarranted, and all it does is just add to the conflict that's raging right now.
Yeah, so once Bonta made that particular message, and again with that video that was on your website, a lot of the newer deputies send me messages scared. And obviously they're also, the main message was, I didn't sign up for this. I get also these messages where they say, I thought we were on the same team. Well, obviously that's bringing in a lot of conflict and a lot of turmoil, yet even more turmoil to add inside a department.
Alex, can you talk about Catherine Barger and the discussion you had with Jennifer Horn on the Morning Answer this week?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty comical. I guess she was interviewed the prior week, and she somehow magically decided that I was to blame for all the ills of ICE in LA County.
Take a listen. Here is Catherine Barger from Friday's Morning Answer.
There was a sheriff that ran with the promise that he would kick ICE out of our jails, which is, by the way, where they were picking up these felons that are now in the community. His name was Alex Villanueva. And my frustration is no one is talking about the fact that we could eliminate what's going on in our communities by working with ICE to get the people that everybody agrees with, everybody, including my colleagues, should be addressed and should be deported. And those are the ones that are doing violent crimes in the community, that are serving their time, that are now being released back into the community. That, to me, is an outrage, and no one is talking about that. It's coming up once in a while in discussions, but my frustration is we should be working with ICE in our jails to get rid of those people that have committed murder, rape, sex abuse on a child. These are the individuals that no one disagrees should be deported.
Now, Sheriff, what I said, and knowing you, look, you and I both know that this was one of the things that I didn't love in your tenure. I'm still very much supportive of you because I think that you were a great sheriff, but you didn't create the sanctuary policy. You had to deal with the sanctuary policy. And it feels to me like the supervisor is trying to lay the sanctuary policy on you.
What?
You're not even there. You're not doing anything.
Well, in her head for sure. And that thing is that while the board was playing, they were playing a two-faced game. They were saying, oh, we're a sanctuary county and this and that, rah, rah, rah. But at the same time, they were selling out the inmate data to ICE. In fact, they racked up $122 million from 2003 to 2018. And the thing is, SB 54 allows for a degree of cooperation. The open borders policy of Biden has created it's a whole game changer now with 10 million more unvetted, on our shores. And something needs to happen where the ones that are the criminal aliens need to be removed. And we don't want the two obviously working together because that is a conflict of interest having both working together. But each one has an important job to do. And throwing gas on a fire and throwing more gasoline on top of it is not going to make the job easier for local law enforcement. It's not going to make the job any easier for ICE. And people just need to grow up.
What do you mean by the two can't work together?
Local law enforcement in LA County, there's 1 million undocumented residents.
Right.
If that a contact with local law enforcement is akin to being deported, they just simply won't call 911, period. And we see the dives in violence cases, sexual assault cases, a lot of crimes, violent crimes that normally get reported.
Right.
Those immigrant communities, crime didn't get any easier. It's just people stopped reporting it for fear of deportation. And that is something that Daryl Gates warned about way back in 1979. And he was not exactly Mr. Liberal anything. He said, no, we got to keep the two separate. And I think that's a good policy. Every sheriff has adopted the same policy going back way back when. The board is the one that's been trying to, speak out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah, that was an interesting point pertaining to how the people of Los Angeles, they won't call. They won't. They don't want anything to do with any type of police because of something like this. Yeah, that's something that I completely forgot about.
Oh, it's a real scenario. In the first Trump administration, there was quite a few research studies.
Yeah.
So there was a major drop in they tracked, I want to say it was sexual assault and domestic violence. And they measured the drop once the Trump's first administration began their hardcore pursuit of the undocumented, the criminal aliens. Mm-hmm. And that for LA County, a drop of 1% in just sexual assaults alone means 350 rapes do not get reported.
Wow.
Threat is real. It's not hypothetical. It's real. It's measurable. And we got to walk a fine line, work where we can. And, but at the same time, no, they got to do their job on their own. We do our job on their own.
Okay. So that makes sense. That makes it a little more clear. So in terms of supporting ICE, if there should be crowd control or last night, there was apparently a call in that some ICE agents were being assaulted or something along those lines. Apparently was called in by a social media influencer. It drew a crowd and it turned out they were not ICE agents.
This is part of the problem because you have all these different activist groups who have their rapid response networks and all this signal chat and all these different methods to basically find an ICE operation and swarm them with sheer bodies, trying to overwhelm them so they can't do their job. That is a crime. And that is bleeding over into any law enforcement operation because the assumption right away is, it must be ICE. These people are not exactly geniuses. But to do those things, they're committing crimes. And local law enforcement has to come to the aid of any law enforcement agency under assault. Failure to do that is just, you just abandon your job.
Last night, I put out a tweet because somebody told me that the watch sergeant at Sentry Station told them to stand down. I confirmed like the radio traffic through a couple of other deputies, but apparently all of that communication got screwed up. And then a sergeant that I know really well told me that they would say stand down because they would want to get a team together. They wouldn't want to just send a couple of deputies out there by themselves. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, I think there's a big difference between stand down and stand by.
Yeah.
Right. True. And that's why I got upset, because they said stand down. That's why I lost it.
Yeah, we'd have to actually see the transcript or the actual broadcast itself to see exactly how it was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that we've covered some ground here, and I think we have given some clarity to what is going on locally. There are some demonstrations and protests that have been planned, so we'll check back in with you soon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.